In the spring of 1964, the Knicks would make Jim Barnes the first pick of the college draft. He was to be their center of the future. In the second round, they would choose another center, whom they hoped to convert to forward. His name was Willis Reed. While Barnes' first season in New York would be his last, Reed would win Rookie of the Year. Veteran guard Dick Barnett had grown unhappy as a Laker reserve. In 1965, he would be traded to the Knicks and flourish as a starter. During that same season, Cassie Russell was completing his career at Michigan. The nation's most coveted collegian, he would join the Knicks a year later, helping them make the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. 1967 would see Walt Frazier journey to the Garden to lead Southern Illinois to the NIT title. 2 months later, the Knicks would make New York his permanent home. As Frazier was becoming a Knick, Bill Bradley was winding up his 2-year Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford. Nationally celebrated in his playing days at Princeton, Bradley, too, would join the Knicks that year, crossing the Atlantic to make his highly publicized NBA debut. With the additions of young guards Bradley and Frazier to a team that had made the playoffs a year before, the Knicks' expectations were the highest they had been in over a decade. But as the 67-68 season began, they found themselves inexplicably struggling, in need of new direction. They would hand the team's reins to their chief scout. And so a reluctant William Red Holzman became coach of the Knicks.
I didn't want to coach, and I tried to get out of it. But they said, there's nobody else, it's you. You got the job.
Protests notwithstanding, he would bring immediate results.
Red came in, he was demanding, and he said that there were certain things he was going to put up with, and there were certain things he wasn't going to put up with, and I think guys respected him for that.
Under Holzman's stern guidance, the Knicks began to win with regularity. Catching fire down the home stretch, they would qualify for the playoffs for the second straight year. And though they would lose a tough opening round series to Chamberlain's Sixers, the Knicks felt that their fortunes were once again on the rise. Opening their first full season in the new Garden on 33rd Street, the Knicks began the 68-69 campaign with high hopes. But from the outset, it was apparent that something was wrong. Bradley struggled at guard, unable to keep up with quicker opponents. Frazier was also not living up to his potential. Limited to backup duty behind veteran Howard Komives, his play was often erratic. And to add to the Knicks' problems, while Willis Reed played out of position at forward, Walt Bellamy was not getting the job done at center, making it increasingly apparent that in the pivot, too was a crowd. But with one bold move, GM Eddie Donovan would change everything. On December 19, 1968, he would send Walt Bellamy and Howard Komives to Detroit. In return, the Knicks received Dave DeBusschere. It was a trade that would prove to be the turning point in franchise history.
It was the move that brought the ingredients together. He was a strong, rebounding forward who could shoot long, who had a great team attitude, who was a tough defensive player. He did things on the court that I don't see a lot of other players doing.
Dave gave us that prototype power forward. A guy who can get in there and get the ball off the board, and a guy that works well with your center. And DeBusschere was that. He and Willis really controlled the boards.
From the moment DeBusschere stepped on the court, it was as if he and Reed had played together all their lives. Like Willis, DeBusschere possessed an unquenchable fire that would inspire his teammates.
Really, the key was not just my arrival. I think the key was that it really put Willis in the center position, which was vitally important. And the other thing was that it really gave Frazier the confidence that now he was to run the team. It's his basketball. He's the quarterback, so to speak. Now let's do it.
When they traded Komives with Bellamy, I was the guy. I was the starting guy, and it worked beautifully.
With Frazier running the team, the puzzle was almost complete. Ironically, it would be injuries to Cassie Russell and Phil Jackson that would provide the final piece. To fill the void in the front court, Bill Bradley would be moved from backup guard to starting forward, where he too would flourish.
What happened was those 5 players of Barnett, Frazier, DeBusschere, Bradley, and Willis had to spend about 40 minutes on the floor together every night.
And together, they would form a unit whose unwavering devotion to teamwork would ultimately become the foundation of its greatness. The Knicks would go on to win 36 of their last 44 games and surge into the playoffs as the hottest team in the NBA. In the opening series, they would sweep the Bullets in 4 games. But in the second round, the defending champion Celtics awaited. And with them, an education in postseason survival. Boston's playoff-hardened veterans would eliminate the Knicks in 6 games. But it was a lesson that would not be wasted.
The focal point of the next season happened that night in the locker room in Boston, a dreary, rainy Friday night. And DeBusschere said in the locker room, he said, "Hey, we're going to win it next year. It's ours. Nobody can keep us from doing it."
For the Knicks, that moment would remain suspended in time. But while they waited for a chance to test their convictions, the world did not stand still. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong would take his giant step for mankind. A month later, a crowd of over 500,000 would descend on Woodstock, New York, to be part of music history. And for New York sports fans, almost equally amazing was the incredible transformation of the Cinderella Jets into Super Bowl champions and the downtrodden Mets into World Series heroes. If ever the scene was set for the Knicks, it was now. And an expectant New York looked to Madison Square Garden for the celebration to continue. They would not be disappointed. The summer of waiting was over, and the Knicks charged into the 69-70 season. This would not be a year of finding their stride. The Knicks were at full speed from the opening tip-off. Steamrolling their opposition, they mounted an early season win streak that would become a dramatic assault on the NBA record books.
There's an attitude change once you're on a team that wins, and a team that wins and knows how to win.
That winning attitude would prevail for 17 consecutive games, but it would be in the pursuit of a record 18th straight victory that the Knicks would push it to the limit as they trailed Cincinnati by 3 with seconds remaining.
5-102. They called timeout.
I just said, well, the only way we're going to win this thing is if you take a chance.
And it's intercepted. Put in by Dave DeBusschere. 105 to 104. 10 seconds to go. Intercepted by Frazier. Frazier shoots. The follow. There's a whistle on the play as Frazier went up with 2 seconds to go.
They called timeout to try to ice me. So when we go over to our bench, no one is saying anything to me. It's like, oh, these two are in the basket, you know. And then when the buzzer sounds, the red goes, okay, Clyde, get them in now.
Knicks trail. 2 seconds to go. They trail by 1 point. It's tied. Fans, if this is pulled out, it will be one of the miracles of basketball. The Knicks comeback. Hold on. Cincinnati will call timeout most probably to get the ball in midcourt. He makes it. The Knicks go in front. They throw in. Reed in the sets. Reed shoots. The ball game. Hold it. We have no official. It's over. All over. The Knicks win 106 to 105.
While it was the win streak that grabbed New York's attention, it was the Knicks' style of play that stole its heart.
We were a team, and we knew that none of us would be as strong individually as all of us were together. which was a very powerful metaphor that I think a lot of people in New York saw. And then the crowds that came were knowledgeable crowds. I mean, you'd have people applaud the pass that led to the pass that led to the basket. Clyde and I used to have a play where he'd go back door and I'd hit him with the pass, and the crowd could anticipate when this play was going to happen. You could do this in other places. They would never understand. They would never appreciate the nuance of the game. So if you knew you were playing for a crowd that understood what they were seeing.
What they saw was a team whose motto was hit the open man and whose unselfish philosophy bound together its members and inspired its fans.
We had 5 guys that come from different and varied backgrounds. But when we came to play as a team, man, it was something beautiful to watch because the ball really moved around the court.
I think people identified with our team. The electricity that it went through not only Madison Square Garden, but the whole city. It was a love affair, really.
The Knicks would finish the season with a league best 60 wins, but this year, only a championship would be good enough. The playoffs' first series would pit them against Earl Monroe's Bullets, and from the Pearl's first dizzying spin, it was clear that it would be a grueling one. But the Knicks would stop Monroe when it counted, using their trademark helping defense to thwart the Bullets in the clutch and eliminate them in 7 tough games. In round 2, the Knick defense would face another monumental test in the Bucks and their phenomenal rookie center Lou Alcindor. Employing Red Holzman's team concept, the Knicks had led the league in defense. The anchor of that defense, Willis Reed, would now push Alcindor out of his shooting range, while his Knick teammates disarmed him. The Knicks easily wrapped up the series in 5 games. The finals would soon begin, and the Lakers were headed for New York. Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West, the top 3 scorers in playoff history, would lead LA into the Garden. These legendary superstars would pose the final challenge to the Knicks' championship quest. The awesome task of stopping Chamberlain would fall on the broad shoulders of Willis Reed, and their battle raged as their team split the first 2 games in New York. For Game 3, the series would shift to LA, and Reed and Chamberlain would continue their ferocious struggle as both teams fought vainly to gain an advantage. And the score remained deadlocked into the waning seconds of the contest.
On the clock, 7, 6, 5. DeBusschere shoots. Hit with 3 seconds to go. 2 seconds. 1 second. West throws it up. He makes it. West threw it up and makes it. The ball game is tied. Jerry West made it from the other side of the midcourt stripe.
Now we walked to the huddle. They had to get fans off the floor and everything else. Dick Barnett came to the huddle and he said, what's wrong, guys? He said, this game's not over, it's just started.
Taking their teammates' words to heart, the Knicks stole back the momentum and the series lead.
With 1:15 left in regulation time and the Knicks down 96-94, Dave DeBusschere missed from the corner. A second attempt also missed, but Walt Frazier tapped in the rebound. Wilt Chamberlain made one of 2 free throws with 17 seconds remaining to tie the game. First, DeBusschere's jump shot giving New York the lead. Then it's West's getting past Willis Reed to tie the game. With 1:27 remaining in the overtime, Reed put New York ahead 109-108 with a foul shot. After West missed a jump shot, Dick Barnett closed out the scoring to give New York a 111-108 victory. West missed another shot in the closing seconds, and that was the game. For the Lakers, it was more than just another loss, having come so close to victory. Understandably, it was a dejected West and Coach Joe Mullaney returning to the locker room.
But the Lakers would take Game 4 in overtime. And in the crucial 5th game, they would jump out to an early 10-point lead that would suddenly seem insurmountable.
Top of the key to Reed. He's triple teamed, falls down. We got a whistle on the play, and Willis is hurt.
With Willis falling, so all of our hopes fell.
Game 5. Willis is the most valuable player of the team, and in the second quarter, he makes a move to the basket, falls to the floor, crashing to the floor.
And Willis is hurt as the Lakers come up with the ball. He's still in the backcourt.
When I went down, I thought I was really hurt.
Willis very slow to get up.
You're thinking, uh-oh. You don't know how severe it is, but you're saying, oh, no.
Nick traded Danny Whalen comes out to take a look.
They haul him off the floor. Our star is gone. What are we going to do now?
That was a major, major blow to the team. But, you know, we never lost confidence.
I mean, it was a crushing blow.
Willis very slow to get up.
I was thinking, well, there goes the championship. Willis was the backbone of the team, and without him, I didn't see any way that we could contain Chamberlain.
Their captain had fallen. But above all else, these Knicks prided themselves on being a team. Now, they would have to prove it.
Here we lost our captain, but we still believed we could win. We just had to figure out the way to win.
The Knicks would swarm Chamberlain, frustrating him as they hounded his every move. As the frenzied Knicks smothered the Lakers, chants of defense began to echo from the Garden's rafters.
Down court, on the drive, all the way, running, hook.
It is sheer bedlam here at Madison Square Garden.
Throughout the entire game, they never let up. And the crescendo became higher and higher and higher.
Swept up in a hurricane of emotion, the impassioned Knicks stormed past the stunned Lakers.
Right, top of the key, cross-court bottom from 20, he jumps, yes! And the Knicks trail by 1. Cassie drives left, picked up by Chamberlain in the corner, outside Bradley, one-hander from 20, yes! We're tied at 87. Stallworth, he sets, now drives on Chamberlain, past the basket, McKenna's good! This must go down as one of the great games in the history of the New York Knicks. Picked up by Chamberlain in the corner, outside Bradley, one-hander from 20, yes!
Even though Willis was hurt, he was still there.
We're tied at 87.
And we went out against Chamberlain, Baylor, and West and beat the Lakers in the 5th game.
They will remember this no matter what happens as the night that Reed sat out most of the way and the Knicks came back.
That probably was the most significant game in that series. Winning Game 5 gave us that home court advantage.
From the bowels of Madison Square Garden, the captain inspired his teammates. But how far would that inspiration carry them? And the Knicks still desperately needed one more win.
The attention immediately went to, how is Willis? Is Willis going to be able to play in the next game, which would be Game 6 in L.A.?
After Game 5, after the injury, all eyes were on Willis. What do you hear about Willis? How's he walking? Is he going to play? You know, the whole thing. We were monitoring him almost by the minute.
He's like walking around the room, you know, and he jumps. He said, "Hey, Rook, I feel pretty good, Rook." He reached and he touched the ceiling, and he came back down and he put weight on that leg, and he just fell on the bed. So I said, "No, Cap, you can't go tonight. You can't go tonight. Won't you rest up?" And he didn't play.
Willis Reed is out.
That drive.
But when the euphoria faded, the Knicks were left with the sobering reality of facing the Lakers without Willis. And with the Garden's divine inspiration 3,000 miles away, Game 5's magic quickly became a distant memory as Chamberlain shredded the Knicks for 45 points, sending them back to New York for the deciding 7th game in desperate need of another miracle.
In the locker room, no one knew if Willis Reed would play or not. He was in the training room. The door was closed. Guys are getting dressed, saying, "Is Willis gone? Is he not gone?"
Garden in New York City. ABC brings you live and in color the final and climactic game in this exciting NBA Championship Series. Tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers A team continually frustrated in championship play, faced by their superstars Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor, meet the New York Knicks, seeking their first NBA championship, with their hopes resting on the injured leg of their captain, Willis Reed. Here on New York's West Side, tonight is a one-game showdown as New York and Los Angeles are tied after 6 games in their best-of-7 title series. Los Angeles hopes resting on a performance like that of Wednesday night in tying the series. New York hoping that Willis Reed will play and can be effective. At 6 p.m. New York time, the New York Knickerbocker captain took the floor for a preliminary warm-up. The first time he had shot the basketball since Monday when he was injured. He was watched carefully by Coach Red Holtzman, who in turn talked to ABC reporter Howard Cosell.
Red, with Willis Reed working out in the background, how long will he play, and what do you suspect his measure of efficiency will be?
Howard, that's very hard to say. We're going to watch him warm up now, and then we'll watch him in the pregame warm-ups, and then we'll watch what he does at the beginning of the game. And, of course, that will determine what he does. Now, so far, the doctors told us that he can try to play. He's able to try to play without any future injury, any future problem. So he will play, but it will have to be based on what his efficiency is. If he can help us, then we'll let him play. Obviously, if he can't help us, there's no sense in him being out there because we would treat him just like any other player. But knowing Willis, I know he's going to give it a great shot, and I think we can expect some help from him.
Could you win without him? Execute a miracle such as Monday night passed?
Well, I have to be optimistic. I have to think that we could win without him. But I'd like to try to win with him if we can. Now, the Lakers are a very, very tough ball club with or without Willis. So in any case, it's going to be a tough job, even if he was at 100% capacity.
Fred, thank you very much. Good luck to you. Win or lose, you've had a superb season.
Thank you, Howard.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris Schenkel, and my colleague on the NBA Game of the Week and in this playoff series, Jack Twyman. And Jack, 19,500 fans here in New York City have yet to see Willis Reed at this hour of the evening.
That is very critical. We heard Red Holzman say he expected him to start. We just had an announcement from the press row that Willis has just received 200 cc of cortisone. Now, I've had cortisone myself, and I think we see Willis coming out.
There he comes right now. 6'10" from Grambling. The captain of the Knicks, the most valuable player of the NBA. It's a standing ovation at the new Madison Square Garden. This is a 38 sellout crowd, and they have been reacting to their Knickerbockers the same way all season long. And he has hit 2 in a row, and they are beside themselves. At the opposite end, the Los Angeles Lakers are hitting them too. So in this one-game season, Jack Twyman, I know the fans will enjoy our coverage from the Garden in New York. And this crowd is awfully loud. Will that help the Knickerbockers?
Well, if ever there was a key, it's Willis Reed, and the fans in the background are cheering every shot he makes. It is questionable, Chris, and as I was saying, the longer he was in there, the more difficult it became. There we look at Reed warming up. The longer he was in there being worked on, the more difficult it's going to be for him to start fresh. That leg has to be warmed up. He's been in the dressing room, and you saw him come out on the floor. So they're going to have to get that leg warmed up, and how effective he will be remains to be seen.
Jack, the other night at the Forum in Los Angeles, he watched the whole game, street clothes, and he saw an awesome performance by Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, I think in that particular game, we saw how important Willis Reed was to the New York Knickerbockers. The fact that Willis, with his tremendous strength, I think is one of the few players in the league that can keep Chamberlain off the board. And you saw how much the Knickerbockers missed Willis in that last ball game. But there are other key players in
Willis Reed still moving around in a walk, not a run or a jog or a trot, Jack.
As we announced, Chris, he was shot with 200 cc of cortisone. Now, what Willis is doing right now is trying to get that cortisone circulating through that injured muscle. It acts as kind of a numbing agent, but it also helps the blood move around. I've had a few myself. And it takes a long time to get it circulating. And it was announced that he was just a few minutes ago, before we saw him come out on the floor, shot with the cortisone. So what Willis is doing now, you notice he's not doing anything dramatic. He just wants to get that stuff flowing around in there and get himself warmed up.
Well, neither team needs much additional motivation tonight because in addition to the title, at stake is $48,000, which will be added to the previous playoff money and the season money, and it's a sizable chunk that can be split up. And there's Reed now, loping toward the Knickerbocker bench, which is to our left, and tonight the Knicks will be in white with their blue and orange trim, but it'll be the forum blue and yellow of the Los Angeles Lakers. Players like Elgin Baylor, who have been in 7 championship series, yet to win a title. Jerry West has been involved in 6. Will Chamberlain has tasted championship when he was with the Philadelphia 76ers in 1967, so he does know what it's like. But he is one of the most frustrated of the Lakers because Jack Kent Cooke, the owner, got together 3 superstars in hopes of winning a title for the sports fans in the Los Angeles, California area, and believe me, they are terrific fans. Here in New York, except for the New York Mets and the New York Football Giants when they won in 1956, they have really come to life, and you'll hear what I mean tonight. In the background, you hear John Condon introducing Elgin Baylor.
Keith Erickson.
Here's Keith Erickson. He's done a terrific job guarding Bill Bradley in this series.
Will Chamberlain.
Guards, number 20, Dick Garrett.
And here is Garrett moving out slowly, getting a round of applause from his teammate Chamberlain. And here's Jerry West. And the partial crowd gives Jerry a big hand, and they certainly should. Now the New York Knickerbockers.
And now here they are, the New York Knickerbockers. At the forwards, number 22, Dave DeBusschere.
And now the audience stands and applauds Dave DeBusschere.
Number 24, Bill Bradley.
Now hear
At
this.
Center, number 19, Captain Willis Reed.
That's still for Willis Reed. That's the type of applause that has been reserved for boxers like Sugar Ray Robinson in the old garden, Tony Zale and Rocky Graziano, and a host of other great fighters. So there are the Knickerbockers, the Knicks coached by Red Holtzman, Coach of the Year, and a first-year coach, Joe Mulaney, a great one from the Lakers. Let's look at the matchup of tonight's one-game championship game.
There you see the key matchup, of course, is Will Chamberlain and Willis Reed. But Walt Frazier is going to have to play Dick Garrett a little more closely than he did in the last game because it was Garrett who jumped the Lakers out to a fast lead, and they're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to Garrett. Barnett has been doing a great job on West, as has Keith Erickson on Bill Bradley. Dave DeBusschere and Elgin Baylor renewing their head-on-head battle.
The home-and-home series in the first 6 games split. Los Angeles won at home just Wednesday night, and on Monday night, the Knickerbockers won here. Neither team has won 2 in a row. As we look at the New York Knickerbockers in white, there is Willis Reed, number 9. The official is Richie Powers. Mendy Rudolph, the other official. And in reserve, referee Don Murphy. Mendy Rudolph and Richie Powers, who have covered this series the last 3 games, will now get ready to move into the center circle along with Reed on the left, number 19, Chamberlain, the handshake, the sweat band around his brow. Richie Powers throws it up. Chamberlain gets control. Willis Reed did not try to get off the floor. Now it's Garrett who has the ball for Los Angeles, number 20. Number 22 is Elgin Baylor. Guarded by DeBusschere, and Baylor's shot is short. It's taken by Bill Bradley, then a fast break to Walt Frazier. Frazier then slows it down, is picked up by Jerry West at the top of the post. Reed. Good! Willis Reed scores the first bucket here tonight, and New York leads.
And Reed has scored that bucket, but he's not running. He's going to take his time to warm that leg up.
And there you see him getting help from Bill Bradley. As the ball was tossed in West to Chamberlain, Bradley commits the foul, and Chamberlain will go to the line. the man who scored 45 points on Wednesday night to lead the Lakers to victory. Standing about 3 feet away from the foul line. Off it comes. Chamberlain fakes a pass. Gives quickly to Garrett. Garrett on a fadeaway jumper. No good. Chamberlain gets the ball. Up and good. So the score is tied. The two centers have made the first two baskets.
And Reed wasn't even down there to contest Chamberlain. As we see the ball intercepted from Bradley by Garrett, but there you see Willis Reed. He did not even come down to try and get the rebound. So Reed is really taking his time getting that leg loosened up. He better not take too much time, Chris.
Now he moves his right leg up and down, and I notice, Jack, that as he stops, he puts the weight on his left foot, as we will have Bill Bradley at the line, having been fouled by number 20, Garrett of Los Angeles. Dick Garrett of Southern Illinois from Princeton University. Bill Bradley. And the Knicks lead, 3-2. We have 11 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the first quarter. And Elgin Baylor has come back to help bring that ball up court, across the divisional line, gets a screen from Jerry West. Erickson is on the opposite side as Chamberlain has the ball working on Reed now. He's probably trying to be mobile to make Reed move around. Instead passes it out to Baylor, closely guarded by DeBusschere. Baylor. And we have a foul called on Elgin Baylor.
And the Lakers, as they were Monday night in that upset win by New York, are standing around trying to get the ball into Chamberlain so he can try Willis Reed.
And Reed now is outside. There's his second shot. He is 2 for 2. Willis Reed. Look at him limp to the opposite end of the court, trying to stay with Chamberlain. Keith Erickson in the far corner, guarded by Bill Bradley. Erickson moving in toward the bucket. The rebound comes off to Frazier. Frazier loops one over to DeBusschere. DeBusschere at the top of the key. Beautiful shot, and the Knicks take a 7-point lead, and the Lakers call for a timeout. There's a timeout here at Madison Square Garden in New York City with the score, Knickerbockers 9, Lakers 2. Willis Reed, number 19, coming out on the floor with the other four Knickerbockers as New York leads 9-2.
And as we look at Reed, he is limping, but what a lift he has given this New York ball club. That, Chris, and along with this tremendous crowd. This crowd can really inspire a ball club, and they've intimidated the Lakers and given tremendous inspiration for the Knickerbockers.
Count. They are 3 for 3 from the foul line. As we look now at Dick Barnett, number 12, Frazier, number 10. On the far side, 22 to DeBusschere. The top of the key, Bill Bradley, number 24. They are 4 for 4 from the field, 11-4. Erickson bringing the ball in. Picked up by Bradley, whose hands keep moving. Look at that defense. It is really tough.
And it's bothering the Lakers because on Wednesday night there they forced them into a walking play. So the Knickerbockers, with that tight defense, caused a turnover, and the Lakers turned the ball over again. The tight pressing defense is working.
Guarded by 22 in white, DeBusschere. And listen to that intimidating crowd. Jerry West, guarded by Barnett. And the ball comes off to DeBusschere. Barnett moving quickly. And there you saw Dave DeBusschere's second field goal, and a most unusual one for him. It's 15-6. Garrett, number 20. In it goes to Chamberlain.
And you see Walt Frazier is very aware as Wilt loses the ball, Willis Reed gets it. But Walt...
Minute mark of the first quarter, Reed at the foul line. Gives off to Bradley. Bradley moving sprightly here tonight, more so than Wednesday night.
Called because Chamberlain did not have possession of the ball.
Jerry West trying to break up DeBusschere's drive, passing off to Frazier. Barnett. Rebound comes off to Quick Frazier. 19-10. Far side, it's Bill Bradley, number 24, guarded by Erickson. And DeBusschere's shot up and in. Now, 5-minute mark, first quarter. Walt Frazier. Garrett trying to steal the ball. Basket counts, and it'll be Frazier going to the line.
Also keeping Garrett very occupied, not allowing him to roam around as he did on Wednesday, as we see Frazier make it.
Okay, Jack. Frazier now with 9 points. It's 24-14, the largest lead of 10. 4:54. First quarter. Drives, fakes Barnett out of position. Tough break on the goal, and Reed gets the rebound. And Reed now trying to hustle to the opposite end. Sets up a pick. Frazier goes the opposite way, and Frazier has 11. 26-16, 3:50 left in the first. Wilt Chamberlain. And Walt Frazier in good position, rebounds for New York. It's his fourth of the evening. DeBusschere's shot is rebounded by Bradley, who gives to Barnett. Their swarming attack, the Knickerbockers. Reed on this move to the opposite end seemed to go a bit faster and length less. Chamberlain has the ball, double team. And here's Frazier. Frazier quickly to Bill Bradley.
But Chris, Reed is down. He twisted something on that last play at the other end, and he's having trouble with that leg. Red Holzman wants a timeout. It appears that Reed twisted that leg on that last exchange.
Jerry West.
He can't move at all. Look at Willis Reed.
Right. 7 points now for Jerry West here at the Garden. Reed limping to the bench. And with 2 minutes and 19 seconds remaining in the first quarter of this NBA championship game, the score is New York 30, Los Angeles 19. Watch number 19, Willis Reed.
This is a play, Chris, just before the timeout. Chamberlain with the ball. You notice Reed laying off. He has 2 personal fouls. But Chamberlain makes the play, and Reed jumps away and turns right here, and it appears that going up on this play and coming down right here. Look at him wince. Right there, it appears, is where he twisted it.
There he is. He's back out on the court at the opposite end. And if the...
I'll tell you, Chris, regardless of how this game comes out, we're seeing a tremendous display of courage on the part of Reed. He is really dragging that leg as he runs down the floor.
Walt Frazier. 34-23. And unlike Wednesday night in Los Angeles, Frazier is shooting the ball. Jerry West losing it to Frazier. The 5th turnover. And Frazier is there. Back under the basket. Bradley and DeBusschere are there, and DeBusschere puts it in. 36-23. DeBusschere rebounding, releasing it to Bradley. Bradley then gives to Frazier, guarded by Garrett. Frazier shoots. And the strategy works once more for the Knicks with 25 seconds, first quarter. That's the end of the first quarter. We'll return to the second quarter of this NBA championship game, live and in color from Madison Square Garden in New York, in just one moment. The score, New York 38, Los Angeles 24.
Look at Walt Frazier. He's down on the end. He's 5 of 5 from the floor. He's 5 of 5 from the line. He has 4 assists, and he has taken charge here. What a great first quarter. And as equally important, he's keeping Garrett. There you see the statistics.
Right now, the Knicks are out in front by 13. They have the ball. Willis Reed holding it. And Dave DeBusschere is another shooting star. He has 12 points. He and Thurston back to West. West trying to get away from Reardon. Gives to Chamberlain, but it's stolen away by Frazier. Frazier, number 10. Bill Bradley gets the bucket, Frazier the assist. It's 42-25, a 17-point lead. Here's a fantastic statistic. New York shooting from the field 72%.
And Joe Mulaney is up off the bench encouraging his team to settle down. They're being tremendously intimidated by this New York press, and they're departing entirely from their game plan. He's showing its effect. He's forcing him outside a little further.
Save under the bucket by DeBusschere, who gives to Reardon. Reardon to Bradley. Good! With timeout here in the second quarter, the score, New York 44, Los Angeles 27. In New York City, this is a rabid crowd cheering on their team, the Knickerbockers, as the Lakers. Garrett gets the rebound for the Lakers. Stolen. Bad pass by Garrett. Too long. To Busher. A bounce pass to Reardon. It's good. Firehouse basketball by the Knickerbockers. Chamberlain couldn't get it. And Bradley drives toward the top of the key in the corner to Reardon. Reardon. Good. 48-29 and 18. Waiting to come in for the Knickerbockers. Frazier. West with the rebound for the Lakers. Now they begin to move, but the quick hands of Frazier done it again. A 19-point lead, thanks to number 10, Walt Frazier, Dave DeBuscher, and the swarming offense of New York.
And as we listen to that crowd, you can't say enough the way that crowd has picked up this New York ball club. They have inspired this ball club. We saw them here on ABC on Wednesday evening. They're a totally different ball club here tonight, and you have to give a great deal of the credit to this great crowd here in New York.
The foul was on Jerry West, and Frazier is good at the foul line. He has yet to miss from there tonight. 51-31, a 20-point lead. The Lakers had a 20-point lead on Wednesday night. Well, there's a violation across the divisional line, and it's the 9th Laker turnover. In the lineup now for DeBuscher. Egan is in the lineup for the Lakers, and Barnett has come in for Frazier.
Chris, we said earlier that Willis had received 200 cc. It was reported to us that he had received 200. As it turns out, it was 2 cc of cortisone. 200 would be a little strong. He's big and strong, but not that strong.
Well, the circus is in town here at Madison Square Garden, Jack. Perhaps one of the elephants below us here, about 5 stories, could take it. It is back in, giving Frazier his first rest. There he is, number 12. Chamberlain comes out to guard Barnett on a switch. And the hook shot. And Chamberlain pushed by Reed. And a bad pass is taken by Barnett. By Hairston. Around he comes. (59-35), 5:14 to go in the first half. Tresvant controlling the ball for the Lakers, trying to get away, double teamed, and that gnawing defense as Reardon controls it and is fouled under the basket. 3 to go in the first half. The Knicks 60. The Lakers 37. He's out now near the foul line. And the chant is defense. Jump ball. Hap Hairston trying. Reed now has 3 personals as we near the end of the first half. This is the 38th sellout of the year. And Nate Bowman comes in, and they stand and applaud Willis Reed, who gets his first rest. Wow. Chamberlain is 0 for 4 from the foul line. We may have had a foul line violation, Jack.
Barrett has 4 points at this point, and Walt Frazier has done a great job. On Wednesday night, he had 18, I think, in the first half.
Kezzie Russell gives over to Barnett. Stolen by New York's Russell. 63-38, a 25-point lead. Walt Frazier, number 10, moving by Erickson. Now drives. Good. 65-38, 21 points for Frazier, and we're still in the first half with about a minute and a half to go. Gets it over. High pass to Erickson. Erickson to Baylor. Baylor double teamed, and again they steal it. And Walt Frazier has 23 points. Tap. Hairston guarding Frazier. Russell and Frazier exchange passes. Now Bowman joins them. And adds to the outside accuracy of New York. Far side inbounding it. Time running out. Erickson just heaved it up, and Chamberlain put it in. And there's the buzzer. That's Warren. So we have the end of the second quarter. We'll be returning with halftime activities and interviews in just a moment.
There's its end. I think that this is going to be a closer game by far than the score indicates right now.
You really believe that?
Yes, I certainly do.
You going to tell us that Los Angeles still can win it?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that Los Angeles will win it because that would make me a complete idiot, which I'm sure I'm not. But it certainly will be a much closer game before it's finished than it is at this particular moment.
And as we looked at that statistic, we were just advised from the Knickerbocker locker room, Chris, that Willis Reed at halftime received 2 more cc of cortisone. So apparently that leg stiffened up when he came out of the game, and he has received another injection at halftime and should be ready to go in the second half here.
Willis Reed in the Knickerbocker lineup, and a fellow named Frazier, number 10, who's had a phenomenal night. Walt Frazier, who has been just extremely accurate from the field and from the foul line, and of course leads both teams. You see. And now we have Nate Bowman starting at center on the right, and we have Chamberlain on the left, and we're looking for Willis Reed. They go with Barnett, Frazier, and Bradley, and DeBusschere, while Los Angeles goes with Erickson and Garrett, Chamberlain, West.
And the cheer you hear is for Willis Reed coming out of the locker room. There he comes across the court to join his teammate. He is going to start.
Well, we have dramatics here tonight for the New York Knickerbocker fans, and Los Angeles controls the center jump. The ball pick, that's Barnett around Chamberlain. Back outside to Bradley. Good! And it's stolen by Dave DeBusschere on a bad pass. And the Lakers have scored 7 points thus far. The Knickerbockers 2. Make it 4. And by Frazier.
And once again, we saw that crushing pick by Willis Reed, freeing Walt Frazier from Jerry West so he could make that basket.
Rebound. Quickly to Garrett. Chamberlain thus far has 15 rebounds. And it's stolen by Frazier. He is too much tonight. Chamberlain trying to get in on Reed. Can't. Loses the ball. DeBusschere picks it up, gives to Frazier. Walt Frazier, 30 points.
For anybody watching, this is a way to play defense. Look at the hands of Walt Frazier getting in there on Garrett, getting that ball. Very active hands, and Walt Frazier, one of the best.
Here is Walt Frazier, who has scored 7 of the 9 Knickerbocker points here in the third quarter.
And as we look at Frazier, to this point in the game, he has 30 points, hitting on 11 of 15, 31 points, 8 of 8, now 9 of 9 from the line, 7 rebounds and 10 assists.
Wichita State.
One danger with that, Red Holzman, as he did in the second quarter, that leg stiffened up a little bit. So perhaps Red wants to give him, as we look at Dave DeBusschere, hit that, but he has to be cautious of that leg not tightening up.
To Bowman. Bowman to Bradley. And the Rhodes Scholar from Crystal City, Missouri, loops one up and in. Quickly, the Knicks are in their shooting zone. Frazier. Bowman. Despite the pressure of Baylor, Bowman gets his second field goal.
This is not over yet. They are a great ball club with West and Baylor and Chamberlain, the all-time leading scorers in playoff history in there. Anything can happen.
And Frazier is 10 for 10 from the foul line. And here are the Busher to Frazier. Barnett. New-like kicking jump shot of Barnett. Keith Erickson. Right into the hands of Dave DeBusschere, where a big man can really move. Length of the court. 90 to 63. 2:31 to go. Third quarter. Jerry goes around to Busher. And there's that pressuring defense. Nate Bowman coming outside to help, giving back to Bradley as they weave on the near side to Busher. Hits from the front. They have the ball. That's the end of the third quarter. We'll be back live and in color for the fourth quarter in this NBA championship game. The score, New York 94, Los Angeles 69. Management of Madison Square Garden. Fans will see a videotape of this game at 11:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Blacked out right now while we're live and in color everywhere else. Ellis to Barnett. Barnett around West. 98 to 71. New York. Bowman trying to set up a screen. He does. Now Barnett has two quick off-balance shots for New York. 24 Bradley, who guards Tresvant right now. And it's knocked away, and Barnett has it for the Knicks. 100 to 79. Frazier. Wow. What a championship night he's having. 36 points. Barnett.
You notice that great ball control of Frazier. He's dribbling the ball, watching the clock, trying to eat up that clock.
In addition to the score, you see the circular ceiling of Madison Square Garden. The building costing $38 million. They have a felt forum, a 500-seat theater, a 48-lane bowling establishment. In other words, at one time, at this arena, there could be 7 major events taking place. And like the beautiful forum in Los Angeles, there is not a pillar or post to obstruct vision. And it's the Knickerbockers. To another man from Wichita State, Stallworth. Deflected pass is caught and used to advantage by Bradley. Now the chant for defense once more as Baylor loops one up. Bowman is in position.
As we look at Walt Frazier, you can't help but be impressed at the way he took over tonight. Offensively, and there he is pointing, positioning his players. He's led this Knick ball club to a big win.
And Bowman hitting from the outside, 110 to 91 with 2:47 to go. And now the fans start to sense victory as Bradley puts one up. DeBusschere gets the ball out to Barnett. Barnett, Bradley, DeBusschere, and as if to pour it on, they have been a superb team all year, and they're just moving it around. Frazier has it. DeBusschere to Frazier. Beautiful teamwork. Jerry West is fouled by Nate Bowman. And there are 2 Laker players who we know are frustrated. Elgin Baylor, who has tried 7 times, and this man, a superstar, Jerry West, 6 tries to no avail. So with 8 seconds to go, it's 113 to 98. And it's hats off to the New York Knickerbocker defense. And now 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. We have a new NBA champion. 24 long years. And I know that Mr. Ned Irish, who started college doubleheaders to get the basketball interest going in New York in the mid-30s, then started the Knickerbockers, and he and Irving Mitchell Fell, Alvin Cooperman, and all of them here, they must be delighted. So it took the New York Knickerbockers 1,858 games to win a championship in their 24-year history. The fourth time that they have gone to the final round, only to be thwarted by Rochester and the Minneapolis Lakers. And, Jack, it was really felt that without an all-out performance by Willis Reed, an effective performance, it would be very difficult for the Knickerbockers to defeat the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. However,
Chris, you can't say enough about the courage of Willis Reed. Reed came in here obviously hobbled. His mere presence on the court intimidated the Lakers. He drew Chamberlain out from underneath, which on Wednesday night's game, by staying underneath, Chamberlain dominated the game. So Reed in the lineup, setting picks, occupying Chamberlain, did a great job, and his mere presence psychologically helped tremendously this New York ball club.
And I'm sure that to put the credit on one particular person is very hard.
Well, that's true, but I must tell the viewers now that Willis Reed, and I'm sure both of you gentlemen are gratified by this, has been named the most valuable player of the championship NBA series. David, I'm sorry you didn't get it, but I think... Let's go back to Christopher Schenkel in the booth.
well, you can see that Howard Cosell is truly loved wherever he goes. I'm not sure he likes champagne.
I'm not sure either. Chris, I think we...
Right, let's go down once again to a rather wet with champagne Howard Cosell.
Thanks again, Chris. Here he is. He's the big man. Willis Reed, named the most valuable player in the just concluded NBA championship series with the Knicks now #1. Willis, congratulations to you, and I'm sure it comes from all the viewers. I must talk to you first about the incredible ovation you got when you came out on the floor tonight.
I was very pleased with that. Everybody had been saying, are you going to play? Are you going to play? I felt like I was going to play. I didn't know how effective I was going to be. I just said, I hope I have a good ball game. I hope the team play well, and I hope we could win it. I'll do everything I could because I didn't know whether we would be back here again next year. And we're here this year. Let's win it this year.
Let's win it this year. You said on the plane as we flew back after Wednesday night's debacle, from your point of view, it might not come your way again, remember?
That's correct. You never know. I mean, with the great teams, with Alcindor and all the other great ball players and teams in this league, we don't know what will happen next year.
Big man, you know what you mean to your teammates? You know what Bradley said about you?
No, he didn't.
He said, just seeing you come out on the floor, put those guys together. And he spoke magnificently, he really did, about you men have coalesced, how you have. And truly, again, our congratulations. You've offered, I think, the best that the human spirit can offer. Congratulations to you, too. Now, these two gentlemen. Ned?
He wanted to take a shot of cortisone, and he took the shot of cortisone, and Red said, well, if you're going to play, we got to get out there because it was game time.
Busher came by and he said, big fella, if you give us 20 minutes tonight, so we're going to win it. He said, that's all we need from him. He said, we're going to win this game tonight.
And I remember Willis saying, I'll do anything I can to get out there. And at that point, he still didn't know if he could play. He was really hurting. And of course, when we took the floor, the fans, everybody, the Lakers, were warming up, and the fans, everybody's watching that runway.
The big question is, will Willis Reed play tonight? There is tremendous doubt right now.
I always remember one thing, that eventually, somewhere during my lifetime, that I will not be a basketball player 20 years down the road, 25 years down the road, that I would have to I'd be sitting somewhere in some lake fishing, and I would have to say to myself, boy, I wished I had played that night. I wasn't going to let that happen because that was my moment.
Here comes Willis, and the crowd is going wild. Willis passes the scorer's table. He takes the basketball. The Lakers have stopped, and they're just watching Willis go through his warm-ups.
And at that moment, I looked down at the Lakers, and they all stopped shooting. And as the roar got deafening, I remember looking at West, and looking at Chamberlain, I looked at Baylor, and they all, just like their faces dropped And at that moment, I felt, you know, they want it. They're defeated. In my mind, they were defeated then.
Here's the tap, controlled by the Lakers. Erickson cross court to Garrett. Garrett along the left sideline. In the corner, it goes to Baylor. Moves left side of the circle. Top of the key, off the screen. Jump short. Rebounded by Bradley. New York ball down court to Frazier. Got it by West. Left side of the lane. Outside Reed. Jumps from 20. Yes! To Reed on the forecourt. Right side from 20. Jumps. Yes! Willis has hit on his first two.
He hits his first two shots. And that tells us all we can do this. And we did.
Willis would not score again. But he had rallied his teammates, and they would not let their valiant captain down.
He bullets one down court, that is intercepted by the Busher. Fast break to the next to the on the drive. Leads Reed, driving shot is good. Incredible defense by the Knicks. West across the midcourt, loses to Frazier, drives ahead of him.
With Frazier playing at his clutch best, the Knicks never looked back as they romped to the first World Championship in franchise history.
Center court, Frazier as the crowd on its feet roaring. Frazier, top of the key, outside the Busher, in the corner Frazier. He drives to Barnett for a jump. Yes! The Knicks are hugging each other on the bench. Confetti from the mezzanine area here at Madison Square Garden. That is it. The New York Knickerbockers have won the 1969-70 World Championship of Basketball. The New York Knicks are the world champions in a devastating rout.
There are no grays. It's clear. You're the best. And for 24 to 48 hours, those chills going up and down your spine turn into a permanent grin, so much so that your face aches.
And truly, again, our congratulations. You've offered, I think, the best that the human spirit can offer.
The Knicks were triumphant heroes, and an adoring New York hungered to know more about them. What they found was a unique group of individuals whose incredible diversity made their unity all the more compelling.
The press started to focus on Walt Frazier and how I like to go out, then with the Rolls Royce and the girls, so it became synonymous with the Clyde image.
Nicknamed for gangster Clyde Barrow of Bonnie and Clyde, Frazier's public image grew out of his larceny on the court and his glamorous lifestyle off it. It was a persona he would revel in.
It was very exciting. I mean, to be in the greatest city in the world, and no matter where I went, people knew me. If I went downtown, uptown, east side, west side, you know, that was a tremendous and a special time for me, being a New York Knick during that era.
While Frazier basked in the limelight, Bill Bradley reluctantly tolerated its glare.
Bill Bradley is a basketball player. He made his professional debut here in Madison Square Garden Saturday night. Sports writers call him Captain Everything and write that someday he may become President of the United States.
From his first day as a Knick, Bradley was treated as a celebrity. It was a role that did not fit comfortably with his selfless ideals.
Tell me, do you have any goals that you set for yourself as a professional basketball player, Bill?
Well, the only goal I've set is to be a contributing member of the team.
I know when he came to the team, all he wanted to do was to play basketball, be himself, and live his life the way he wanted to.
Though Frazier and Bradley were the most publicized Knicks, DeBusschere and Reed were equally well known. They were players who wore their emotions on their sleeves. One was the staunch blue-collar worker, the other the indomitable captain. But ironically, the personality least known to the public belonged to the Knick who was most visible in the locker room.
Well, I was not a comedian, and Bill was not a comedian, and Willis wasn't, and Frazier was very quiet, so Barnett was sort of the guy that just took the edge off a lot of things.
I saw the locker room as a place where tensions were lessened and people would talk to each other and joke with each other. But what I did in the locker room stayed in the locker room.
The way people are conducting themselves, the way they talk about their teammates, the way they talk about victory or defeat, all of those things are potentially divisive to a team. But with our team, they weren't. And if anything, we weren't aware of it at the time, they were unifying.
The Knicks' delicate chemistry was one of the keys to their success, but that fine balance would soon have to be altered. In 1971, their bid to repeat as champions was cut short by the Bullets in the conference finals. Willis had been hobbled by injuries throughout the series, and the Knicks, no longer a young team, suffered from a lack of depth. Changes would have to be made. To back up Willis, Jerry Lucas was acquired in exchange for Cassie Russell. And in one of the franchise's most dramatic moves, basketball's greatest one-on-one performer, Earl the Pearl Monroe, was brought to New York. On paper, the Knicks had solved their problems, but the question remained whether their team harmony would survive.
The New York press was saying that there was no way the two of us could play in the same backcourt. We would need two basketballs.
But the problems that the media predicted never materialized.
I just changed my style to try and fit in with the guys, to let them know that I wasn't coming in and taking anybody's stardom or anything, that I wanted to be a part of the team.
With Monroe and Lucas both eagerly adopting the team's unselfish ideal, the Knicks made it back to the finals. With Willis hurt again, they would lose to the Lakers, but they had proven that their special chemistry was still intact. And as the 72-73 season began, the feeling of storybook magic was once again in the air. On November 18, 1972, the Bucks would become early believers. Leading 86-78 with under 6 minutes remaining, they felt that victory was assured. But their 86th point would be their last, and no one was leaving the Garden early.
Frazier moves to the baseline. He turns the fadeaway. It's short. Rebound. Jabbar. No good. Rebound to Busher. New York ball. Ahead it goes to Bradley. A 3-on-2 to Monroe. Baseline jump. Yes. 86-77. And suddenly it's become a ball game. He moves to the corner. He stops. Fadeaway. Yes. 86-78. Things have turned. Hands to Monroe. Monroe drilling White. Gives to the Busher. Long jump. Yes. 25-footer on the Busher. Pick by Bradley. Fast break. Gives to Monroe on the right. He pulls up. Here's the jump. Yes. 86-83. Right is on the line. He can move it within one. It is now to one. So Allen will go to the line. He is a very good foul shooter. 91%. The first. Hooker. He missed a clutch free throw. Now the second. It is up. No good. Rebound Reed. Cuts to the foul line. Fakes. Hands to Monroe. Side jump. Yes. The next three-point run. Fires for the basket to Jabbar. He turns. It's short. And the Knicks have stolen the ball game.
You got a feeling at that time that, well, we're destined to do it again or something. When we won those 19, when we ran off those 19 straight points, you really felt that you couldn't be stopped.
The 73 Knicks would find new ways to win. They would rely more on their bench, as Dean Meminger created turnovers and sparked their running game. Phil Jackson used his long arms to create havoc on defense. And the versatile Jerry Lucas provided long-range shooting and heady play in the pivot. And as Frazier and Monroe meshed at guard, they dominated opposing backcourts. Though he had toned down his one-on-one show, the Pearl had lost none of his luster.
There's never been two players together that were that good in the same backcourt as those two guys. They were the best ever.
With the new players all contributing, the Knick veterans were rested and ready for the playoffs. Willis was finally healthy, and the aging Knicks knew that this title run could be their last. The Pearl began the Knicks' playoff march in style, leading them past the Bullets in 5 games. But the conference finals would prove to be a more difficult obstacle, and the Knicks would need heroic efforts from everyone if they were to get by the favored Celtics.
I was the kind of player that would challenge for the ball all the time. I was a person that didn't play defense defensively.
Played tight by Jackson. Cross-court White. White has the ball stolen by Jackson.
In Game 4, Phil Jackson's hustle helped the Knicks pull out a pivotal double overtime victory and take a commanding series lead.
You must understand, we were up 3-1 against Boston. And they were able to pull out games 5 and game 6. No one had ever beaten Boston in the 7th game in the Boston Garden.
It was a piece of Celtic history that the Knicks would now rewrite. Memminger would come off the bench like a whirlwind to ignite the Knicks. And with Clyde pushing the offense into high gear, New York convincingly defeated Boston on its home floor, dealing a painful blow to the Celtic playoff mystique. A second title was almost within reach. As they had in their first championship season, New York would face LA in the finals. But this year's confrontation would have none of the drama of the initial one, as the Knicks would crush the Lakers in 5 games. This series would be a celebration of recaptured glory and a tribute to enduring determination. For Monroe and Lucas, this was the championship that had eluded them throughout their careers. While for the veterans of the 1970 team, it was the title that would assure their rightful place in history. Steadfastly holding to their team philosophy, they had preserved their unique chemistry and left an indelible mark on their era.
The New York Knicks have defeated the Los Angeles Lakers by the score of 102-93, and they race off the court here at the Forum of Los Angeles with the 1973 World Championship.
I think the second victory etched in our minds, at least mine, that, we were a team for a period. We weren't a flash in the pan.
And here you had a bunch of guys from all diverse backgrounds come together and to form this unit that will be remembered forever. I thought that team should be remembered for those 3, 4 years, 5 years, is whatever. It's probably the smartest basketball team ever assembled.